wanted to do a quick review of how to use the clone stamp. And for this, I'm going to use this old image of our school. So this is kind of a low quality image. So this is not going to look good when we zoom in on it, but it should look much better when we zoom out. So I am going to zoom in, and my plan here is to remove this car from the parking spot. And that's exactly what I'm going to try right now. So before I do that, notice how big my brush is. It's about the size of the car. So I'm going to make that smaller. And I'm also going to make it square. So it's at 40 right now. I'm going to take it down to 20. And I think that's still going to be a little bit too big. So take it down to 10. Give that a try. Okay, and because I want to replace this car, I'm going to need to go over to where something that would be able to replace the car would be located, which would be this empty parking spot right here. And to use the clone stamp, I first need to select my source, which I do by holding Control and clicking. And then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to be able to replace that with squares. Now, oh, that doesn't look good at all because it just looks like squares. So I'm going to undo all those, and I'm going to go back to my brush, and I'm going to change it to a soft circle like it was before. And I'm going to do that same cloning that I did. Click. And now I'm going to be able to just go right over top of that. I'll zoom in a little bit and just go right over top of that. And notice what's happening. Okay, you can see the little target crosshairs over on the right side of my image. That's where it's cloning from. And you can see it's already gone up to where the sidewalk is. So if I keep dragging, I'm going to get the sidewalk and then this pillar here. And now it's going to start to get messed up. So instead, I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to go back to where I was to start. And I'm going to come down to the bottom portion. And I'm going to go back to 10 here. I think that's what I had earlier. There we go. And I'm going to start down here instead. And now I can come around and just very carefully start to replace the car. Not going too far at once, okay? Because if I do, I'm going to end up cloning something that I don't want to clone. And it's going to be super obvious what I'm doing. So it's important that I take my time when I'm doing that. And again, this is not going to look good at first because it's going to be pixelated, but we're going to fix that up nicely. Got a little bit of the line there. Oops. Okay. And I've almost got the top of this. Don't be afraid to go up on the sidewalk. Not with the car, that would be dangerous. But with Pixlr, it's okay. And you might be thinking, how am I going to get the rest of this SUV over here? Looks like a problem, and it might be a problem. But right now, I'm not worried about that. Okay, so we've got the car basically removed, and when I zoom out, okay, I mean, obviously you can tell that there used to be a car there. All right, so now I want to go back, and I need to get the full, because part of the sign here is missing. So I'm going to clone the sign, set my source, and I'm just going to drag right up the pole. Whoops, too far to the side there. Straight up. And now I've got the rest of the pole, so that's pretty sweet. And now I just need to get the rest of this car over here. So I'm going to zoom in and move over to the car. So excuse this awful pixelation here. And I'm going to set my source again and Control click and just kind of recreate the car going backward there. And then I'm going to need that back tire. So I'm going to clone the front tire. I'm going to make my brush roughly the same size as the tire. Perfect. Oops. Set my source. Click. And then I'm going to come back here to where it would roughly be. That wasn't good. I'm going to undo that and try that again. That's not terrible. And then I'm going to zoom back out. Okay. But now the tire is being covered up by the pole. So I'm going to go back to the original pole. Change my brush size again. Now I'm doing this rather quickly. Obviously, if you were doing this on your own, you'd want to spend a little bit more time on that. Okay, because the car's looking kind of messed up. And then now I'm going to recreate the line. So I'm going to set my source, control click, and bring that right up here. Okay, I've got the line. A little off on the proportions, so try that again. And now I just need to take care of the sidewalk. So I'm going to set my source, and it's a little more shaded. So I'm going to go to this shaded area and just carefully go through there and recreate that. I need the pole, so I'm going to set my source over here to where that column is. Get the column back. And then I need just a little bit more sidewalk. And it's pretty rough, but you can see that I have in fact removed that car from its space. So if you were looking at this image for the first time, you would definitely know something was off, or maybe not, because when I take it back to 100%, maybe you just think that that little SUV there was in an accident, but we've definitely removed the car from the space. Using a much more high quality image, you'd be able to get better results, and obviously taking your time. But those are the basics. Okay, you want to set your source by clicking on source and then holding control, finding an area of your photo that has the thing that you need to replace, and then just carefully going through and clicking on the different pieces of the image to clone and replace. Give it a try. Let me know if you have any questions.